Alright, what is going on everybody? This is Tim Odell with Odell Complete Concrete. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. We're here pretty bright, well, not too bright, but it is very early in the morning before the sun even came up. I've actually been delayed on this job about 2 months now. The contractor that was pouring the concrete in the backyard kept delaying the homeowner over and over, and then as soon as he poured, we got 2 weeks of rain non-stop. And the reason why I got here so early was because I wanted to double check all the forms and rebar to make sure everything was still intact and in place, and to my surprise, the forms were straight as an arrow. The rain hardly affected them. So we're here and we're ready to pour it out. So the first truck has arrived. Going to be 2 trucks in total. This driveway was about 16 yards, and it's a pretty nice creamy mix. And I know this is actually a pretty big debate. A lot of people are always talking about how you always need to put rebar in anything concrete, and honestly, for concrete pavers this size, they really don't necessarily need rebar. I mean, the main point of rebar is to basically hold concrete together when it cracks. And if this was to ever shift in any way, it would all shift as one big piece since they're so small. And this is a pretty nice fancy tool right here. This is one of Juan's inventions. He welded some pieces of rebar together to make a handle, and then a little J-hook at the bottom of that rebar to be able to pull up our other rebar. We're also just using the 4-foot wooden bowl float. I like using the wood ones just because I think they level out the concrete surface a little bit better than magnesium bowl float would. For the amount of finishers we have on this job, it's about 5. That's including my brother and me, plus I do have Jimmy and Shane here, still learning the ropes on how to get down on concrete, but they are also helping a lot with film and cleanup. Alright, now you're going to want to pay close attention right here, because I'm about to show you some secret concrete finishing techniques.
Where are the chickens?
Oh yeah. That's a little secret concrete finisher technique right there. When you got some low spots in your concrete, just act like you're feeding the chickens. Yeah, so we just got done laying this down, and this stuff is stiffening up quick. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, once we got this all laid down, this concrete was going off, and I was getting a little worried because it was in direct sunlight, and finishing a driveway like this is a lot tougher than just a big slab. There's so many edges to finish. Not only that, but you kind of need a special edger for these type of jobs because they don't really make triangle shaped edges, they're only square, and square edges don't really get all the way to the end of these diamond shaped pavers. So you can see I can't get my edger all the way to the end. Luckily, my main man Juan actually cut up an edger for us to reach all the way to these corners. And that's when you know you got a great finisher, when he's willing to sacrifice one of his edgers for your job. edges. So many edges to hit.
Yeah. That's a lot of edges.
I don't know if you guys can notice that too, but on the bottom of these floats, we actually cut them up a little bit so that when we pass over the concrete with it, it'll pull the cream up a little bit nicer. That's why it leaves all those lines as we're floating the concrete. I'm actually kind of curious too to know if any of you other concrete finishers out there are doing this technique. I know it's big in Southern California, but is this also a popular thing in your area?
I forgot to give you the receipts. These are for the trucks.
Oh, perfect.
All right.
How much did we have left in the concrete truck, you think?
Lauren, did you find out? Did you see how much you had left? Or could you hear it?
He ran out, right? It was perfect.
Oh, really?
I gave you basically everything.
Oh,
You
wow.
been in the hose?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Well, I only
Wow.
had 50 feet of hose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's We only had
Buenos
that
dias,
one.
buenos dias.
Wow. That was close.
Yeah.
Closer than I thought.
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Oh, yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah, honestly,
Thanks
I
for the
really,
work,
really
man. I
appreciate
appreciate
that. Yeah. I just got off work a little too late yesterday and I couldn't make it to the bank.
Oh, that's all
And
good.
I was trying to go at night. They only let you pull out like 400 at a time.
Yeah. And it sucks. Concrete's going up again, man.
Ah,
Fuck,
no
dude. I'm
way.
like, come on, man. Robertson's went up in January.
Oh.
Vendors going up.
What's it like per yard right now?
Oh, dude, if you called and you get associated, it's like 160 a yard.
160 a
I
yard?
could get it like 130 right now.
Oh wow, that's really good.
Wow, I used to get it
At
at
AA,
108.
huh?
Yeah. Well, my wife works there. She's been there
Yeah.
33 years.
Yeah, you guys
But,
get the good deals.
You know, I mean, these guys are they're almost getting $1,900 a truck now.
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
And then people,
Yeah, I'll hit that.
anyways, you guys have a good one. Hey, thanks again for the work,
Yeah.
man. Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, thank you, Lolo. We'll call you for the next one. Oh, I think they're right behind, right there. Two of them they're all on the wall right there. I think this is just a little too wet right down here. It's the top area that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Patrón, ¿ya está hablando? Patrón. El otro patrón, Marcos.
Don't let that dog run onto the concrete, Shane.
Yeah, that's what the guy was calling him.
That's the last thing we'd want. Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
Now, if you're curious about what type of mix we used for this concrete driveway, it was a 3000 psi pea gravel mix. Pretty standard residential mix. Also, here in California, or Southern California, since we don't see any snow or anything like that, we give our concrete surface a really nice light broom finish. Unlike the areas in, I would say, the east, northern states, they give their concrete a pretty rough broom finish. But we burn it black, basically. We go over the concrete quite a few times. I mean, it's more fun, really. You get more time to play with the concrete. And I personally like the finish more. I like the light broom finish, but I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Do you guys like a lighter broom finish concrete or a more rough broom finish? So we're on to the brooming stage of this concrete driveway, and you can see we're using 100% nylon. In some of the areas of the concrete driveway, it was pretty hard. We had to go over it a couple passes to get that nice textured finish. Even in some cases, we put a little bit of water on top of the surface just to be able to dig into it a little bit better. But you can see this broom finish came out amazing. Really consistent all around. It's gonna look even better when we start putting that artificial turf in. Now a little key trick too when you're doing your artificial turf for driveways, I like to keep the turf blades pretty short so that you don't have like an inch or 2 inches sticking up above each square. Almost creates like a trip hazard. So I get the shortest artificial turf I can. Also, we were very careful not to let any concrete get in between our diamond grid forms, because if we did, we would have struggled to get these forms out, which we still kind of did. I mean, it was almost impossible to not let any concrete get in those forms, but we did our best to prevent it. Who we have here today actually stripping the forms for me though was my brother, and then we're also putting the base in at the same time. And the base we use is the base I use for pavers. If you've watched some of the paver videos, it's a mix that you use for concrete. Basically 1/8 minus pea gravel.
Alright, here we are 2 days after the pour. We're getting the diamond grid all prepped out right now for the turf. We're gonna lay the 1/8 minus recycled concrete base between the strips, compact it down with like a 2x4 inch sludge, and after that we'll start laying everything.
So as we're filling up in between all the concrete squares, we're watering everything down. Helps really lubricate all of this, the gravel, so that everything gets tighter together. And as we were compacting everything, this is how we did it. We basically just got a 2x4 sledgehammer and started slamming the base down in between. Tyler actually ended up slamming his finger this day. You can see I got pretty close to my finger a couple times. Now the key to this too, for your base setup when installing the turf, is you want the base to be slightly lower, just like 1/8 to 1/4 inch lower than your concrete. This way stuff will start being more flush together.
Okay, so what we did right here, guys, was we went all the way down 6-inch strip, marked it with a little pencil. You could do it also with a chalk line, but the pencil's a little more accurate. You make sure, because you can see these little seams that run down the turf. All you gotta do is measure over, find the seam in which your strips are. Ours are 5, but we did a 6-inch, about a half-inch overhang on each side, because once we start tucking into the edges, it's gonna take that extra inch away, because you want a nice tight tuck into the bands. And look at that, first strip is in. But once we start doing the cuts again, I'll show you guys exactly how we do it.
Ahí da. Hasta acá no importa. Vamos, vente, aquí, aquí va. No tiene que ser corto.
Alright, so the first thing we're doing once we start laying the turf is we are using our carpet puller. As you can see right there, we got our carpet puller out and we're stretching it one direction, getting all the wrinkles or imperfections out of the turf. And as we go up that way, we're staking it with a nail to hold it in place. So it's nice, straightened out, and no wrinkles or air bubbles or nothing like that. It's also really important to lay your turf out too before you start doing your installation like we did out in the sun out here, because you see those little bumps over there? Over time, it's gonna turf's gonna heat up, it's gonna expand, and all these little wrinkles are gonna flatten out. So that's why we are letting it lay out, get nice and hot up here.
Alright, so you can see right here, we are just cutting a little bit of excess off some of the turf strips to fit into the bands a little bit more snug. And the way you want to do this really is you basically want like an 1/8 inch overhang onto the concrete so that the rest tucks into the crevices between the concrete.
Okay, so we're on to the nailing phase of our turf installation. Basically how we're doing this is I just get a staple, and these staples are mainly for seams, but they're also great for pulling back the turf blades. What we do is we get as close as we can to the back of the nail and scoop all the turf blades back just like that until you can see the black at the bottom. Feel like you missed any, just go back, pry it again, and then get a little hammer. Get that down there. Fluff the blades up a little bit, and the nail is gone just like that. Now if you don't do that and you just start hammering these all down without moving the blades back, what's going to happen is you're going to get fat holes in your turf. It's going to look like dips everywhere, and your turf is going to start looking like a Dalmatian. Holes, dots everywhere. So you always got to make sure, pry your turf back, hit that down, fluff it up. Remember that sequence. And look at that, you can't even see them. We're gonna do that for a lot more nails, a lot more, all day. Pretty good, huh? Yeah. All right.
Now, one thing to keep in mind when you are doing your artificial turf, you need to pay attention to which way you're going to be facing your turf blades, because they do show a different look when you look at them in different angles. And the angle we want is we want the turf blades facing the street so that when people are driving by, they see the face of the grass, not the back of the grass, because the back blades have a sheen to them, while the front face gives it the real artificial look. And who I actually had come out here to help me with the turf installation was Omar and Roman. These guys have helped me out on a couple projects in the past. They've helped me do some pavers, and they're always super reliable. So every time I get anything where I can bring them out, I do. Now, putting the nails in is a super tedious process, as you can see. I had to stretch my back on the concrete right there, because this stuff takes time, lots of time, especially when you have to start tucking all the edges into the crevices between the concrete. I'm actually pretty curious too. What are you guys seeing a lot in your states, or where you guys are from? Are you guys seeing a lot of just straight flat work driveways with a broom finish, maybe a diamond grid or stamped concrete driveways? What is really hot in your area? Because I know in Southern Cali, a lot of people are really digging this turf in between a diamond grid concrete setup, but kind of curious to know what the other states are really into. Also, is this something that you would want for your driveway? So the last final parts of doing your artificial turf, as you were just seeing, was we were tucking the edges into the concrete bands that helps keep them locked in place. But the other thing is what we just did was we were power sweeping all of the turf blades up. And what that does is it prepares the turf for the sand that we're going to be dropping in between the turf blades. Once you drop the sand in between the turf blades, you go again with the power sweeper to really help even all the sand fill out, and it helps hold the turf blades up.
What are you doing here, Timmy? Basically, what we did was we sweeped all the turf blades up right now before we started laying the sand down, because the turf blades need to be sticking up before the sand goes down, because when the sand is at the bottom, because that's what's going to keep the turf blades sticking straight up the whole time. After we have all the sand in, we're going to do one more pass with the sweeper again. That's going to distribute the sand more evenly, and like I said, keep the turf blades standing straight up.
So here's just an up close look at us using the power sweeper and a blower at the same time. The blower also helps get any loose turf blades out and distributes the sand a little bit more evenly. And also, you want to make sure you got the sweeper facing the right way so that it's pulling the face of the blades the right way. You don't want to be sweeping your turf down, you want it to sweep up. So that about wraps up this job. I really hope you enjoyed part 1 and part 2 of this video series. Make sure you guys leave a like, share, subscribe, comment. It really helps us out. And don't forget to hit the bell notification so you guys can be notified on our next upload. Alright, take care guys.